day, we get 24 hours to change the world. With the power of choice, it's a race against the clock to protect all that we love and care for. And there are many ways about it, so go green your way. Not sure how to start? Take a leaf from those around. Turn the corner down the block. Recycle more and recycle right. Use your hands for a simple fix to keep the things you love going. Power up your day. It's a breeze at 25 degrees. Power down the lights when you're out and about. Take a trip down our waterways. Clean up as you cruise along. Spot some wildlife if you can. Eat fresh, support local. Give ugly food a second chance. Why not learn to grow your own? Here's to the beauty of choice. Old is gold. Make things last. A few more stitches, and it's as good as new. Go green in style. Go green your way. Make a difference and reuse that bag. Clean up each time you eat or drink, just as you would at home. Wash up, don't let it run. Recharge under the shower. Short and sweet. Going out? Move your body, clock some steps. It's never too early to start them young. Time's a ticking. Choices are waiting. There's no time to lose. You have the power to choose. Go green your way. Every day, we get 24 hours to change the world. With the power of choice, it's a race against the clock to protect all that we love and care for. And there are many ways about it, so go green your way. Not sure how to start? Take a leaf from those around. Turn the corner down the block. Recycle more and recycle right. Use your hands for a simple fix to keep the things you love going. Power up your day. It's a breeze at 25 degrees. Power down the lights when you're out and about. Take a trip down our waterways. Clean up as you cruise along. Spot some wildlife if you can. Eat fresh, support local. Give ugly food a second chance. Why not learn to grow your own? Here's to the beauty of choice. Old is gold. Make things last. A few more stitches, and it's as good as new. Go green in style. Go green your way. Make a difference and reuse that bag. Clean up each time you eat or drink, just as you would at home. Wash up, don't let it run. Recharge under the shower. Short and sweet. Going out? Move your body, clock some steps. It's never too early to start them young. Time's a ticking. Choices are waiting. There's no time to lose. You have the power to choose. Go green your way. Every day, we get 24 hours to change the world. With the power of choice, it's a race against the clock to protect all that we love and care for. And there are many ways about it, so go green your way. Not sure how to start? Take a leaf from those around. Turn the corner, down the block. Recycle more and recycle right. Use your hands for a simple fix to keep the things you love going. Power up your day. It's a breeze at 25 degrees. Power down the lights when you're out and about. Take a trip down our waterways. Clean up as you cruise along. Spot some wildlife if you can. Eat fresh, support local. Give ugly food a second chance. Why not learn to grow your own? Here's to the beauty of choice. Old is gold. Make things last. A few more stitches, and it's as good as new. Go green in style. Go green your way. Make a difference and reuse that bag. Clean up each time you eat or drink, just as you would at home. Wash up, don't let it run. Recharge under the shower. Short and sweet. Going out? Move your body, clock some steps. It's never too early to start them young. Time's a ticking. Choices are waiting. There's no time to lose. You have the power to choose. Go green your way. Every day, we get 24 hours to change the world. With the power of choice, it's a race against the clock to protect all that we love and care for. And there are many ways about it, so go green your way. Not sure how to start? Take a leaf from those around. Turn the corner, down the block. Recycle more and recycle right. Use your hands for a simple fix to keep the things you love going. Power up your day. It's a breeze at 25 degrees. Power down the lights when you're out and about. Take a trip down our waterways. Clean up as you cruise along. Spot some wildlife if you can. Eat fresh, support local. Give ugly food a second chance. Why not learn to grow your own? Here's to the beauty of choice. Old is gold. Make things last. A few more stitches, and it's as good as new. Go green in style. Go green your way. Make a difference and reuse that bag. Clean up each time you eat or drink, just as you would at home. Wash up, don't let it run. Recharge under the shower. Short and sweet. Going out? Move your body, clock some steps. It's never too early to start them young. Time's a ticking. Choices are waiting. There's no time to lose. You have the power to choose. Go green your way. Every day, we get 24 hours to change the world. With the power of choice, it's a race against the clock to protect all that we love and care for. And there are many ways about it, so go green your way. Not sure how to start? Take a leaf from those around. Turn the corner, down the block. Recycle more and recycle right. Use your hands for a simple fix to keep the things you love going. Power up your day. It's a breeze at 25 degrees. Power down the lights when you're out and about. Take a trip down our waterways. Clean up as you cruise along. Spot some wildlife if you can. Eat fresh, support local. Give ugly food a second chance. Why not learn to grow your own? Here's to the beauty of choice. Old is gold. Make things last. A few more stitches, and it's as good as new. Go green in style. Go green your way. Make a difference and reuse that bag. Clean up each time you eat or drink, just as you would at home. Wash up, don't let it run. Recharge under the shower. Short and sweet. Going out? Move your body, clock some steps. It's never too early to start them young. Time's a ticking. Choices are waiting. There's no time to lose. You have the power to choose. Go green, your way.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Harjit. Hope everyone is feeling well this morning. Never seen name badges so big before, but it's always the first time. I can see your name and full designation from where I'm standing. So we're just here to inform, firstly, to wish you a very good morning. Secondly, a warm welcome. Thirdly, to also invite you to once again switch all mobile devices to silent mode if you're not done it already. Third, and most importantly, we anticipate the arrival of our guest of honor, Minister Grace Fu, who will be joining us in just a few minutes from now. When announced, please give her a big round of applause. Or you can scream. We'll leave the choice for you to decide. But for now, may we please invite you to sit back, relax, and smile. We will be commencing or endeavor to begin on schedule. Thank you so much for your attention. Our next announcement will be to announce the arrival of our guest of honor. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest of honor, Ms. Grace Fu, Minister for Sustainability and the Environment. Let's give her a big warm welcome, please. Thank you very, very much. A very good morning, Minister. Thank you for gracing our event. Distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And welcome to the launch of the Singapore's first Center of Excellence in Coastal Protection and Flood Management. My name is Harjit, delighted to be your MC today. Can we also take the opportunity to say how pleased we are to welcome our virtual participants online who are tuning in. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Today, we are gathered to witness the formal launch of the new Multi-Institutional Center of Excellence, the Coastal Protection and Flood Resilience Institute of Singapore, or CFI Singapore in short, is part of the broader research program where we will conduct research and lead capability development in these areas. CFI Singapore will be hosted at the National University of Singapore, closely supported by partner institutes such as Nanyang Technological University, Singapore University of Technology and Design, the Singapore Institute of Technology, and the Agency for Science, Technology, and Research. To begin our program this morning, it gives me great pleasure to invite Professor Tan Eng Chai, President of NUS, to deliver his welcome address. Join me in giving Professor Tan a big warm welcome, please.
Ms. Grace Fu, Minister for Sustainability and the Environment, Mr. Jiang Jie-fu, Chairman of PUB, Mr. Goh Si Hao, Chief Executive, PUB, colleagues, guests, and friends. Very good morning to everyone and welcome to the NUS campus. I'm delighted to join you at this gathering of institutions, agencies, and organizations in Singapore who are joining hands and working together to address a very important existential issue for Singapore, that is coastal protection and flood management. The past 2 decades has seen an increase in the number of extreme weather events occurring as a consequence of rising global temperatures and climate change. Singapore is not spared from the effects of climate change. We have been experiencing erratic weather, prolonged dry spells, as well as heavy downpours that result in flooding as drainage systems are overwhelmed. It is said that as the world gets warmer, Singapore will get wetter. And as a tropical island state, Singapore will have to manage water from the sea and also water from the sky, and the flows and impact from one to the other. For the longer term, there are also systemic consequences on our natural ecosystem and biodiversity. Now, countries like the Netherlands also have to deal with the challenges of low-lying areas. With more than a quarter of its land below sea level, the Netherlands has become quite an expert in embankments, dikes, dams, and floodgates to protect its low-lying areas. Now, there are many lessons we can learn from the Netherlands, but solutions are not always readily and immediately implementable for Singapore's operating context. So adaptations are required to suit Singapore's human and physical geography. There are also resource and other constraints. Now, to understand and address the impact of climate change on complex and interconnected systems, we need to draw on insights, experiences, and expertise from across multiple disciplines and sectors. Exchanges between various academics and industry players drive ideas and innovations, which are further sharpened with contributions and input from multiple sources. Today, we are gathered to celebrate the launch of a new multi-institutional and interdisciplinary Center of Excellence, which is the Coastal Protection and Flood Resilience Institute Singapore, or CFI Singapore in short. The institute is part of PUB's Coastal Protection and Flood Management Research Program. Our NUS is pleased to be the host university for CFI Singapore. Our partner institutions include other autonomous universities such as NTU, SUTD, SIT, as well as A-STAR. The collective expertise and extensive resources across our partners, coordinated through CFI Singapore, will be the engine through which the PUB Coastal and Flood Management Research Program can catalyze joint research activities with academia, industry, and policy partners. NUS will contribute resources and expertise across the university to support CFI Singapore. The institute can draw on the university's research talents and facilities in ocean infrastructure and renewables, resilient infrastructure and climate change mitigation, and many more. The NUS Center for Nature-Based Climate Solutions and the Tropical Marine Science Institute will also contribute towards this endeavor. CFI Singapore will seek to strengthen connections with industry partners as well as international institutes. It will engage in dialogues with policymakers, planners, and experts from cities and regions on how they are tackling climate change, in particular, what they are doing to prevent and deal with floods and rising sea levels. Now, this is an opportunity for Singapore to learn, as well as to contribute to the global knowledge and experience base. CFI Singapore will be part of this network of countries and organizations working on coastal protection and flood resilience. It is particularly apt that the launch of CFI Singapore coincides with the NUS Sustainability Connect. And this is a 5 weeks long outreach program that showcases the university's research and innovation, education, our campus operations, as well as our students' engagement in sustainability and also the fight against climate change. I'm glad to see that CFI Singapore is off to a strong start. Its founding executive director, Professor Richard Liu, will share about the key projects that the Institute is working on. With strong support from the PUB and other institutions, I'm confident that CFI Singapore will contribute to continuing the Singapore story of overcoming challenges and constraints, building a stronger and more resilient and sustainable Singapore for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Tan. May we now please invite Mr. Goh See Hao, Chief Executive of PUB, on stage to deliver his opening remarks. Mr. Goh, please.
Very good morning, Minister Grace Fu, Chairman Mr. Chiang, and US President Prof. Tan, and leaders of our partner institutions, all our guests and friends here this morning. Thank you for joining us at the official launch of the Coastal Protection and Flood Resilience Institute, or CFI Singapore. I'm heartened to see many partners across our universities, research institutes, industry, as well as our government agencies here with us. Your presence sends a very strong message and a clear signal that our work on coastal protection and flood management for Singapore will be a collective endeavor and a team effort. Strengthening flood resilience for Singapore is of course not new. In the past, floods were a common occurrence in Singapore. Over the decades, we've made substantial improvements to our drainage infrastructure and successfully reduced our flood-prone areas from about 3,000 to now 30 hectares, which is a 99% reduction. However, with climate change, we face a new challenge. Sea level rise poses an existential threat to Singapore, where 1/3 of our land is actually low-lying. More intense rainfall can also overwhelm our drainage infrastructure and cripple critical infrastructure and essential services in Singapore. And we already see this impact around the world today, as Prof. Tan mentioned earlier. And as a small island, our flood risks stem from the confluence of both sea levels and rainfall. So to PUB, coastal protection and flood management are inherently an integrated mission. This is why PUB has been entrusted with this new mandate as a National Coastal Protection Agency, building on the synergy in planning and the expertise we've built up for inland flood management. So working with our partners, we endeavor to achieve this mission through integration in planning and design, innovation in solutioning, and a multifunctional approach in reimagining our coastlines and bringing value to our community. I must say Singapore faces unique challenges in achieving this mission of coastal protection and flood management. We're not only a low-lying island, but also land scarce, highly urbanized, densely populated. Every stretch of our coastlines is precious for housing, industry, or recreation. So while we seek to build on international expertise and best practices, I think there is a compelling need for us to develop local domain knowledge and innovative solutions that are tailored to address our unique constraints and meet our aspirations for Singapore. So it's critical for us to anchor local capabilities and also groom a sustained pipeline of professionals for coastal protection and flood management in Singapore. And PUB believes that a vibrant research and development ecosystem will be a catalyst to spur local capability and human capital development. With this in mind and the support of NRF, we launched the 125 million Coastal Protection and Flood Management Research Program, or CFRP, in March earlier this year. At the heart of this CFRP is really our Center of Excellence, which is the CFI Singapore. CFI Singapore will drive cross-disciplinary research in coastal science and develop coastal protection and flood management solutions that are fit for purpose for Singapore. Importantly, we believe it will serve as the focal point to anchor and grow a collaborative research ecosystem to build capability in the long term. In setting up CFI Singapore, we have been very deliberate that it will be multi-institutional by design. We are delighted that this is hosted by NUS, and also the NUS is bringing together NTU, SUTD, SIT, and A-Star together as a team. CFI Singapore can hence draw on the strengths and expertise across our various universities, research centers, as well as industry partners. And by seeding this DNA at birth, our aim is to foster collaboration and teamwork so that collectively our research efforts can be more than the sum of our parts. And it is our hope that we will continue to foster this spirit of collaboration as we work together to meet this critical challenge for Singapore. As all of us understand, coastal protection and flood resilience will be a long-term endeavor for Singapore. And to achieve our goals, we do need a strong and sustained pipeline of talent, not only in research, but also in industry. Hence, CFI Singapore and our partner institutions also have the important role to grow our human capital and workforce and train a new generation of leaders, researchers, and practitioners in coastal protection and flood management. For PUB, we are fully committed to partnering CFI Singapore, and we understand clearly our role as the mission owner. Just as in our water sector, we strive to nurture a robust research ecosystem to guide and govern the research agenda and to support translation and implementation of solutions together with industry. And this strong partnership with research and industry has served us well in our water story, turning adversity to strength for Singapore. And as Prof. Tan said, working together, we're confident that we can similarly rise up to the long-term challenge for coastal protection and flood management. So in conclusion, the launch of CFI Singapore marks a new milestone in Singapore's journey in coastal protection and flood resilience. In time to come, we hope that this will be a world-class center of excellence and a source of strength in ensuring that Singapore will be resilient against the forces of climate change. And we look forward to your strong support and partnership in this journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goh. Sir, may we please invite you to remain on stage in lieu of the launch. It gives me great pleasure at this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, to please invite our guest of honor, Minister for Sustainability and the Environment, Ms. Grace Fu, to be joined by PUB Chairman, Mr. Chiang Chie-Fu, NUS President, Professor Tan Eng Chai, and Executive Director of the New Center, Professor Richard Liu, for the launch of the Coastal Protection and Flood Resilience Institute of Singapore. Can we give our guest of honor and distinguished guests a big warm welcome, please? As we all are in position and ready for the launch, Minister, distinguished guests, on our count, may we please invite you to place your palms above the alphabet in front of you to officially launch the Center of Excellence. We'll do it from our count, 5 to 1. If you're ready, join me in the countdown, ladies and gentlemen. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Give them a big round of applause, please. Ladies and gentlemen, the Coastal Protection and Flood Resilience Institute Singapore is now officially launched. Another big round of applause, please. Congratulations to PUB and NUS for the successful launch of CFI Singapore. May we now take a few minutes to record this momentous occasion and acknowledge the support from the partner institutions with CFI Singapore as we invite them on stage for a series of group photo opportunities. Starting firstly with Professor Andy Hall, Deputy Chief Executive for Research, the Agency for Science, Technology and Research. Professor Lim Ka Leong, Associate Vice President for Biomedical and Life Sciences and Vice Dean for Research from the Lee Kong Chian School of Medicine, Nanyang Technological University. Professor Susanna Leong, Vice President for Applied Research from the Singapore Institute of Technology. Professor Chua Chi Kai, Associate Provost for Research from the Singapore University of Technology and Design. We also have the pleasure of inviting Ms. Hazel Koo, Director of the Coastal Protection Department in PUB, on stage to please join Minister and our distinguished guests. Can we give them a big warm welcome, please? Thank you very much. Maestro. We just need the right placement. Everyone into frame. Okay. Official photographer, formal photo first. One with a thumbs up. Let's give another big round of applause to acknowledge the contributions from the various institutions to make this initiative a success. A big thank you. Thank you, Minister, and thank you to our distinguished guests on stage. Well, in March the 2nd, 2023, PUB Singapore's National Water Agency announced Singapore's first research program dedicated to strengthening coastal protection and inland flood management, while the 125 million Coastal Protection and Flood Management Research Program, or CFRP in short, endeavors to advance knowledge in coastal and flood resilience, and more importantly, spur the growth of a vibrant research and development ecosystem for coastal and for flood resilience. As we now resume with our program, it gives me great pleasure to invite Professor Richard Liu, the Executive Director of the Coastal Protection and Flood Resilience Institute, Singapore, to please say a few words. Join me in giving Professor Liu a big warm welcome, please.
Ms. Grace Fu, Minister for Sustainability and Environment, Mr. Chang Chi Fu, Chairman for PUB, and Mr. Goh Si Hao, Chief Executive, PUB, President Tan Eng Chai and US President, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and our valuable partners. I'm very delighted and honored to stand before you today as we mark the launch of the Coastal Protection and Flood Resilience Institute. In short, we call CFI Singapore. You can see from the big signboard here on the stage. The Institute is made possible with the commitment from NUS, together with NTU, SUDT, SIT, and A-STAR. I would also like to acknowledge the generous provisions of $125 million by the PUB under the Research and Enterprise 2025 Plan for the Coastal Protections and Flood Management Research Program. As mentioned by Mr. Goh from PUB, the threats posed by the climate change and rising sea levels are significant, not only to Singapore, but also to other cities and communities worldwide. It is our collective responsibility to develop solutions that are not only effective, but also sustainable. This is a driving force behind our dedicated research efforts in coastal science, focusing on understanding the coastal ecosystems, the oceanography, and the hydrodynamics. The challenges that we face are unprecedented, and so should our solutions. It is with this understanding that we place a strong emphasis on the youth-inspired research, working to develop solutions that are not only practical, but also resonate well with the needs of the communities we serve. By actively engaging with our industry partners and our local communities, we can develop strategies tailored to the unique challenges of each coastal region. In the face of these global challenges, we recognize the importance of collaborations and partnerships in actualizing our visions. We are committed to fostering a collaborative ecosystem with universities, research institutions, both locally and internationally, as well as with our industry partners. Many of you are here today. CFI Singapore has commenced the first phase of research projects with a total of 9 projects approved by the Executive Committee chaired by Ms. Hazel Khoo, the Director of Coastal Protection in PUB. One of the projects that the CFI Singapore will embark on is the development of nature-based solutions that can help protect our coastlines from an integrated meta-hydro-ecological approach. This is led by a multidisciplinary team from NUS, consisting of Dr. Chen Yiwen from the Center of Nature-Based Climate Solutions, and Dr. Gary Lay from the Department of Civil Environmental Engineering, and Professor Peter Todd from the Biological Science. This team hopes to produce innovative hybrid coastal protection solutions, such as the perched beaches with sea grasses and mangroves, integrated with the rock revetments, and test them for the effectiveness in the coastal protections, taking into account the ecological and social benefits. There's another project led by Dr. Chiu Sun Ho. The team seeks to develop modular coastal protection solutions that are adaptable in response to climate change and rising sea levels. This project, if successful, will provide a cost-effective and resilient solutions that can be deployed along our coasts. In pursuing an integrated approach towards coastal protections and flood resilience, CFI Singapore will be engaging local and international researchers and companies, along with our local communities, to ensure that our solutions can be implemented with the benefits of our future generations of Singaporeans. MOUs with these partners will be firmed up in the coming months. I also remember about our mission about our education and training, which will be a critical outputs of this institute. It will identify programs across the partner universities that can be tapped into to develop the interdisciplinary talents we need. One such program is the NTU's undergraduate specialization in coastal protections. We do not forget our current workforce, and we will support them in their professional development through the continuing educations and training. The NUS Department of Civil Environmental Engineering has launched the graduate certificate programs in coastal protections and flood management to help current engineers in the industry upskill themselves so that they can meet the growing challenges in protecting our coastlines. I would like to end by extending my heartfelt gratitude to PUB and all our partners and supporters who have helped make this institute a reality. We look forward to work closely with you to create a brighter and more resilient future for Singapore and our coastal communities worldwide. Thank you.
As an island state, the sea has always been part of our home. But with climate change, new threats are looming over the horizon. Extreme weather, rising sea levels. Our life as we know it is at stake.
As the National Coastal Protection Agency, PUB is leading efforts to develop coastal adaptation strategies and plans to safeguard Singapore's coastlines. Adapting to rising sea levels is a complex endeavour that requires long-term planning. To meet these challenges, we need to rally key stakeholders. Researchers, academic institutions, local and international industry partners will play an important role in Singapore's first research program dedicated to strengthen coastal protection and flood management capabilities. The Coastal Protection and Flood Resilience Institute Singapore, or CFI SG in short, will foster research and collaboration across academia and the industry and develop the local talents we need to address this challenge. Together, we can forge the path towards greater coastal and flood resilience.
By coming together, examining different perspectives, and thinking creatively, we can rise to these challenges and protect our home.
The CFI SG was founded with a vision to be a leading global research institute. We are employing a four-pronged approach to achieve this. We aim to develop core knowledge in coastal science, conduct innovative urban coastal protection research, foster collaboration with local and international partners, and cultivate a new generation of coastal protection leaders and practitioners. Partnering with renowned institutions is helping us consolidate expertise across the nation and beyond. Our local partners include Nanyang Technological University, Singapore Institute of Technology, Singapore University of Technology and Design, and the Agency for Science, Technology and Research, or A*STAR. Greater collaboration means amplifying our collective expertise across disciplines and driving innovative solutions in coastal protection and flood resilience.
A sustainable ecosystem calls for a synergistic partnership between CFI SG and industry partners. The Ocean Basin Research Facility at NUS is helping Singapore strengthen R&D in engineering solutions for coastal protection. And with St. John's Island National Marine Lab, we can further test nature-based solutions before implementing them. These facilities, combined with academic expertise and government partners, will help the industry co-create actionable solutions, validate research in real-world conditions, and identify opportunities for commercialization.
With CFI SG, we will surge towards a more resilient and sustainable future, propelled by strong expertise and new ways of collaboration. Let's do our part to protect our home. Join us in the cause to safeguard our coasts and Singapore's future.
Thank you once again, Professor Liu. And ladies and gentlemen, we do hope you've also enjoyed the video. We'd now like to move on to the next segment of the program, the dialogue with Minister Grace Fu on nurturing talent in coastal protection and flood management. Moderating the discussion is Ms. Celine Teo, Senior Assistant Director in the Coastal Protection Department from PUB, who joins us on stage along with our stellar panelists. Professor Vladan Babovic, Professor of Civil and Environmental Engineering, NUS, and Advisor for Strategy, Partnerships and Technology Translation for CFI Singapore. He is also joined by Mr. James Lam, Managing Director for Coastal Engineering from Mr. Bana Jurong. Join me in giving Minister Grace Fu and our distinguished panel a big warm welcome, please. Everyone comfortable? Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Please join me once again in giving our panel another big warm welcome, please. And I hand the proceedings over to Ms. Teo. Ms. Teo, please.
Testing. Thank you for the kind introductions. We're glad to have our distinguished panelists here today. So today's panel discussion and dialogue would have two segments. The first would be a segment whereby I ask our panelists to share their thoughts on the subject. After that, I would open up to the floor for questions. There are 2 microphones at the 2 aisles. So for the second segment, if anyone would like to come up, ask a question, please state your name and your organization and proceed to ask your question. So without further ado, let's begin with the first segment. Minister, the first question is for you. As a low-lying country and with 30% of our land below 5 meters above mean sea level, we know that sea level rise poses an existential threat for Singapore. May I request Minister Foo to share your views on the importance of coastal protection to Singapore and to Singaporeans?
Thank you very much, Celine, and good morning to all our guests here. When I was looking at the invitation to attend this important event, I was asked if I would give a speech, and I thought that I would delegate this task to SFAH. And then I ended up being on the panel. I'm not sure whether this is, in fact, a good substitute, but I'm very delighted to be here. I think this is a very important part of our coastal protection plan. You know, as the video has just suggested, our life is at stake. If we don't do this well, our lives are at stake. And of course, we're talking about, you know, loss of lives and loss of property, as we have seen through many of videos recently across all continents of the world. You know, really inundation of flood water, and even as we speak now, Brazil, for example, is suffering from the effects of severe weather events. So these are really important issues for us to look really far ahead and take action today. If we are able to do that with ample time, we believe that we can find better solutions to protect our people. We're also talking about, you know, protecting livelihoods, because Singapore thrives on being an efficient, effective, and working hub, a hub for transportation, logistics, finance, etc. And so if this hub is you know, inundated, it's not working for several weeks because of flood water, you know, obviously it's going to affect the effectiveness of our economic activities. So it's very important for us, for our whole beating heart of the region, to continue beating even with extreme weather events that's confronting us. A third important point really about what Sir his speech, which is that, you know, because we are very land scarce, if we do it well, this project can give us value, additional value in terms of new uses of land, new land for our purpose. If with proper planning, I think it can create value for us. You can imagine that there are many interesting new uses, new places that can be created through this project as well. Fourth one, not forgetting, you know, the whole ecosystem, is that we have to protect everything else that's living on this island. We're talking about, you know, plants, animals, insects, fish, corals, what have you. It's an important part of our ecosystem, and I think if we do not do our coastal protection well, their ecosystem, their living environment will be affected. This will be an important part where we bring in multidisciplinary expertise. This is one note. We're looking at engineering, we're looking at science. Thank you. But more importantly, I think there are other notes out there in the whole coastal protection program, which is really to bring in the biologist, the horticulturist, the sociologists that will study, for example, impact on community lives, and also about change management. How do we implement this while taking the communities along with us? So it's a very, I think, ambitious project that we have here. We think that it's not only just helping us to defend ourselves against coastal sea level rise as well as storm surges, but it's actually a great opportunity for us to create something really wonderful for future generations. In a Chinese saying, I think it's like, you know, you think about this length and this duration of this project, we're looking at 2100, it's almost a 100-year-long project. And PM Lee has spoken about 100 billion investments in this coastal protection undertaking. So it's 百年事业，千亿投入. That's really the scale of what we're talking about. And if we're going to invest this much of our resources, of our time, I think we'll jolly do a good job out of that. And we really want a solution that can test the time in terms of generations of users that's going to be with us. So I think this is really an exciting project, an important project, and I'm very glad that CFI will play this very critical role of filling this important gap in the science and tech aspect of it.
Thank you, Minister, for sharing your thoughts. You've actually placed it quite succinctly in that, coastal protection is perhaps about protecting the beating heart of Singapore. So specific to the topic, in addition to sharing about the importance of what coastal protection is to Singapore, I would like to, invite Minister to share your views on how can we actually pursue, encourage young people to pursue careers in coastal protection and flood management, and what are the steps that we can take to help support them in their development?
Oh, I think that first of all, this project is extremely meaningful. Not often when you can lay your sort of mark on a project that's going to be here with us for hundreds of years. So this is one of those when you can actually say that, hey, you can tell many, many generations after you that this is what I've done, and this has an impact on protecting lives. So it's really significant, it's really meaningful. It's also groundbreaking because we are innovating, we're looking for solutions that's not yet here, and we are looking really scouring around across the globe for the best solution for us. There's also opportunity. The career options is just limited to the IHLs. Although this will be a very important part for us to build up that depth in knowledge, but we see this collaboration with industry as a really exciting part for our young people as well. You're going to talk about collaboration not just within your universities, with your professors, but across the universities in Singapore and with the industry as well. This collaboration with industry is a very important part because it's about bringing solutions from the lab to real-life situation. How is it going to build? How is it going to be built cost-effectively? How is it going to be built safely by the people? How is it going to protect the actual biological environment in the stretch of land that we're talking about? So you're going to learn a lot in this process. You're going to learn not just your own discipline of science and tech, but you're going to learn across many disciplines with many other like-minded people. And I think most importantly, it's really about engaging with stakeholders. I think this will also be an important part that our young people will have to learn. So many, many life skill sets will be required. It's not just deep science and tech, but it's also about networking, it's about building trust. So lots of area for growth, I think, for the young people here. The support is in the universities, is in the research program that we'll be funding, but it's also many of the industry partners that's along with us. I think we see this as really symbiotic, that a strong science and tech will support development of a strong industry, and this sort of virtual cycle will help reinforce each other, and we see potential of even going outside Singapore because the solutions that developed here will have application, particularly in the region, for example, in Southeast Asia, where we are faced with similar weather events and weather contexts. So we are not just looking at Singapore, we're also looking beyond Singapore. So actually this little red dot can shine very brightly in green outside Singapore as well.
Thank you, Minister. It's wonderful for you to hear about the wonderful opportunities that you have shared in the various fields, and the collaboration with the industry that you have mentioned is also a reason why we have Mr. James Lam on the panel with us today to share more on that. But before we go to Mr. James Lam, I'd like to move on to Professor Ladan. Could you share more about how students and young professionals could be enticed to explore research? Would this be through undergraduate programs, postgraduate programs, and how can our universities support this?
Well, Hopefully this works. Okay, thank you. We'll swap. I would like to echo Minister's words. This is a fantastic area. Yes, on one side, it is an existential threat. But if millennials and generations that cares about something, they do care about climate. So for us, as institutions of higher learning, it is about creating the programs that are attractive. So offering opportunities that will offer educational experiences that are completely different. For example, through exchange programs that we have launched with many universities globally. Because yes, New York is different, and so is Miami, so is Rotterdam. But we can learn from each other. And in our department, we have been developing a strong exchange programs with our colleagues at Technical University Delft, in ETH in Zurich, in Switzerland. Now we're talking with a number of American universities to offer these exchange programs. So this is one aspect, seeing the world, seeing their challenges in climate and adapting them for our own circumstances. Also welcoming the talent from around the world to join us here in Singapore to work together. So this is one aspect. The other aspect is, of course, the time scales. If you joined NUS just a few weeks ago at young undergrad students, it would be 4 years before you graduate. It's a long time. And yes, climate is not going to change tomorrow, but there is a sense of urgency in which we have to address that. And it is important that we train a young talent, nurture the talent to provide the basis of this effort. At the same time, I also believe Prof. Richard mentioned, we have to work at somewhat shorter time scales, working with people that have just graduated or may have graduated a few years ago. So offering a graduate certificate programs, a Master of Science program that will contribute to the workforce immediately. And finally, being a young senior, we cannot forget about young senior and some baby seniors. If you graduated from university, say, 25 years ago, we did not teach much about climate 25 years ago. Yet, these are people that are now in their mid-40s, late 40s, full of energy, experience, ability to lead. So we have to also offer a series of executive programs that will have to be adjusted, worked around the busy schedule of busy people. These people are not going to come to university once, 3 times a week, every, whatever, Tuesday evening, Thursday evening, whatever. We have to organize a program so we would offer executive leadership courses that are packed in time of a period of 1 or 2 weeks in order to provide leadership skills, rejuvenate technical skills, and move that. With this, I think we will be able to address the needs on a shorter term, because a few weeks after the course, these latest science will be ready to be used, few months, years, through grad certs, and of course on a longer run with undergraduate students graduating in 4 or 5 years from now.
Thank you, Professor Ladan. So from what you've shared, it seems as if there are opportunities for people every stage of their life, as long as they're interested in learning more about this area. For Mr. James Lam, we understand that you have played a key role in coastal and infrastructure projects around Singapore, be it in the Tuas Port area, the Jurong Island, and you have a wealth of experience in the industry. So, which are the skills and capabilities that you think an aspiring professional in this area should have?
Hi, morning. Thank you for the invitation here. Thank you, Celine. So, yes, in the industry, the obvious one would be, coastal protection. We are talking about wave mechanics for hydrodynamics. We are talking about hydrology, hydraulics. But then, like what Mr. Grace has mentioned, that today, my business unit comprises specialists not only in hydrodynamics, hydraulics, we have geotechnical engineers, coastal structural engineers, I have ecologists, environmental engineers, and GIS specialists. So It's a multidisciplinary group of specialists that needs to come together today to overcome and create innovative solutions for tomorrow. And the projects that we are now working on, you have to look at the trade-offs, the social, ecological, and it's no longer just an engineer's work. It's really across this multidisciplinary. So I remember one of my staff who is an ecologist was telling me that the mom was really against her taking ecology as a specialization because they are worried that when she graduates there's not that much opportunity for her. But today it's different, right? We are looking at more sustainable solutions. We are looking at hybrid solutions, and CFI. And I've seen that all the topics that CFI is going to tackle requires all these multidisciplinary specialists to come together, and this gives a great opportunity for the young youth, to study various disciplines and come out, and the industry needs them. So today I'm so happy to see a lot of industrial partners and friends, and one of the common grounds is we need more talents. It's common. We are all fighting for talents, and today. Like what Professor Valdan has said, it's not only for the youth that's coming into the university. There are staff that is now working, in their 30s, 40s. They want to take up either a master's program or just maybe a module, for them to learn in this aspect. I remember many years back, I actually had to curate a customized program to train our engineers in coastal engineering. We are working with NUS for that. But today there are programs that is already made, and then it's easy for staff or those that's not in this line yet, engineers, they can easily train, and those who like sustainability to come in, climate scientists, to join the industry. So I think a lot of opportunities going on.
Mr. Lam, thanks for sharing. I'm glad to hear that, in the industry today, you're looking for people across disciplines with varying backgrounds and getting all of them to try and work together. And glad to hear that you're hiring too.
Yes. Not only me. All my friends out there, they are always hiring. We are always hiring.
No, not me.
You like to join me?
We shall now proceed to the second segment of this dialogue. And I'm sure there are people in the audience that are raring to ask questions to our distinguished panelists here today. As mentioned earlier, there are two mics, standing mics at both aisles. If you would like to ask a question, please head up to the mic, state your name and your organization, and pose your question. Thank you. I see a gentleman.
I am Paul Long from NUS, Civil Engineering. My question is, with all this research on the CFI, when do you think we will actually spend billions of dollars on the construction? Telling people living in Telok Kurau that you're going to see dredges and all the cranes in front of the East Coast Park. When do you think we're actually going to spend billions of dollars? Because at the end of the day, we need to spend money building some kind of protection against rising seawater. So what's your timeline for that? What's your estimate for that?
Minister Fu, would you like to answer this?
Can I pass this mic to someone sitting down here? But actually, we have started. I think James can talk about how he's involved in some of the projects, doing engineering study. So actually, the process has started. We have started engagement. So if you have not participated, please look out for PUB's community engagement. We did one for the Marine Parade, which I attended. I believe that they've done subsequent ones as well. So it has to be really what you call micro-local, locally engaging stakeholders, and the Marine Parade folks actually have been participating. Will it be the first? No, actually, because we're just starting, we're just scratching at the surface. We have not even looked at engineering options yet, right? So actually there's a long road ahead of us before you see all these cranes piling up at Telok Kurau. First of all, we are working with uncertainties. how will climate change impact us, right? There's a range that we're working with now. We're thinking about maybe it's 1.5 degree to 2.2 degrees, as Paris Agreement has laid out the principles. But increasingly, we're going to work with even higher temperatures. As we have seen recently, just looking at 1.1 degree now, and you see all these extreme weather events occurring in front of our eyes, you can see that you can argue that actually the range needs to be a bit higher. So how much uncertainty, how much discretions do we need to work with? I think this is what the climate scientists have to tell us. So hold your horses. In a few weeks, we're going to talk about V3, which is really the version 3 of bringing IPCC projections down to Singapore's context. We're going to see how that's going to translate into action numbers in terms of temperatures, in terms of sea levels, in terms of storm surges in the Singapore context. So with that formed the basis of some of the engineering options that we're going to study, with these centers taking the lead. And we have to look at this in a very dynamic way. I mean, this is one of the skill sets as well that PUB has to learn, in the sense that if we do this too early, and we do this, without maybe too much, as in protecting us too much, you waste a lot of resources, right? Because you're putting in investments literally into the ground or into the sea. And if you build too much, too early, it's wasted resources. If you build it too late, too little, you're not going to be in time. Similarly, if you built it too low, and then you find that, several generations later, you need to enhance it. Of course, sometimes it's not so easily done as well. So this is where I think the critical path is moving. Critical path is actually moving. And how do we do this with some moving deadline? It's just to say that we're going to do it by 2100, and this is exactly where we need to do it. Marine Parade first, or Teluk Kurau second, but it's not like that, because we are not impacted by climate in a uniform way, right? Each geographical location has its own peculiarities, and they're impacted by climate differently. So we have to be informed by the latest climate science models, but at the same time informed by what we are gathering from engineering studies. And then these two has to come together, and we have to make decisions as to how we'll prioritize our actual engineering work. But we used to think that we can take several decades. We seem to think that now there's a little bit more urgency because we're beginning to see more and more severe weather events coming. So meanwhile, while that is true, we always want to rely on science, because even as we speak, we are affected by sort of periodic transitional weather events such as El Nino, La Nina, which sometimes make it look more scary than the long-term trend suggests. And that's where the scientists have to come at. Is this aberration? Is this a long-term trend? Do we need to take this into consideration, or do we not, right? So I just want to put it out there that it's actually a very complex project. We want to do it in time so that it's effective. And we believe that if we do it in a timely manner and not pressed against the wall when tide water is just in front of us, we are able to be more cost effective. Right? So for example, when reclaiming T5, reclaiming it to a higher level helps us save money to do it now as we reclaim the entire terminal rather than to do it later. So early planning, early understanding of alternative use of those structures can actually help us build better, right? So many parts that's moving on, but you can be assured that actually in terms of industry investments, in terms of engineering studies, consultancy studies, studying different engineering options, I think that's really going ahead. And with this birth of CFI, I'm sure the momentum will gather speed.
Thank you, Minister, for sharing. Indeed, implementation would need to be tempered with considerations from across engineering, research, and also best practices, in addition to climate science. Do we have any other persons?
Hi, good morning. My name is Nicholas. I'm from the Center for Climate Adaptation from SUTD. So my question is from today's conversation so far, the taxonomy of climate strategies that we have proposed are always revolved or dominated by engineering practices. And I guess now it's better because we are introducing climate science into the picture. And when we introduce the term design into the, it's often used or viewed and understood as some form of ornamental add-on, which is appended to or revolves around an engineering core. And I guess, personally, I don't agree with that. And I think that design should also be a main subject within the realm of coastal resilience rather than protection. And with that being said, so how do you see Singapore, through policies, plans, or initiatives, include the expertise of design and designers and to complement the engineering approach in a more holistic manner, such that Singapore becomes a more multidisciplinary player in terms of this whole coastal resilience?
Thank you for your question, and I understand that it's really thinking about how best to include other disciplines such as design into our current work. Perhaps I'll get Mr. James Lam to first think about how design has been incorporated within the industry, and if there are additional comments from the panelists after that, they can add on to.
Sure. Like I was saying, yeah, engineering forms like the basis of a lot of the works. But today, when we are working for proposals or putting in a bid for a project, even projects overseas, some in China, my master planners and my landscape architects comes to us. They said that they will do the design, we give the basis for the engineering. And we have our ecologists looking at the landscape architects' plans, does it work, does it increase the biodiversity, and the designers and the master planners especially, they will want to look at multifunctional coastal protection, not just purely to protect the coast, but what else can you do with the land use. So this multifunctional requirement is something that is very highly built in now, yeah. Especially you get prime estate as beside the coast. And there is a lot of design element that is actually put in, yeah.
Thank you. Would other panelists?
I would like to add that actually I encourage SUTD to really be actively involved in the scientific discussion and also in accumulating knowledge. This is an excellent platform, I thought, for different institutions with different strengths to come together. Singapore is, a very small country, 5.5 million, handful of universities, for example. And how do we build up the capability, optimizing the resources that we have, right? And I think this is really a test case for design thinking to come in. How do we make this truly multi-institutional and multidisciplinary? And we like to see the different institutions here making full use of the platform to network, to build, relationship, and also to recognize that there's actually strengths outside the universities, your own universities, and actually that's an alternative way of thinking about issues, not just from an engineering solutions point of view, but from a really starting from people and designing around people, right? So I think that's really where interesting discourse can take place through programs such as CFI. So I encourage you to nudge your professor, nudge your peers to participate in this fully. This is not top down. As far as I think the government and PUB is concerned, it's really allocation of funds. But in terms of project generation, it's really up to everyone sitting around this room to think about what would be helpful in informing us, how would be a better way of doing things. And I think that all of us here should have the humility that, there are people out there who know things better than we do.
Sorry, I don't want to hog the Q&A, but just a follow-up is because I'm trained as an architect, and then I see in this room like a severe lack of designers sitting around. So it's dominated by engineers. So how do we include, or what are the platforms, to include architects?
How do you get more of your friends here? Yeah. Why don't you get more of your friends here to be interested in this, right? So it's also you about how can you go out and spread the news about this exciting project and get them interested to participate, right? So architect fraternity, there's a young architect here that is nudging the leadership to really participate fully. Well, it's always a start. There's always a first step. Now that you are interested, now that you're aware of this, please help us. Please help us to get all stakeholders involved in this. In many ways, it's not just CFI. CFI is but one node, right? There are many other nodes. In the industry, for example, there could be, I don't know, consortiums, there could be alliances, there could be industry or professional discussion work group. You can form, the architects or the engineering association can form joint teams to look at this together as a separate work stream. Don't wait for the government to tell you what you should do, right? I mean, you know that these are gaps. Act on it. Do something about it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think we have time for perhaps 1 to 2 more short questions. I'll take the questions in succession so we can perhaps answer them at one shot.
Hi, I'm Charles from Singapore Water Association. We have more than 300 member companies serving the water industry. Last year, we included coastal protection as part of the association mandate, and we are looking at setting up a chapter for coastal protection. During earlier on, I think there's few speakers have mentioned about working with the industry, including Minister Graceful. I would like to really explore this topic a bit more. Apart from nurturing talent in coastal protection and flood management, how about the engagement of local industries, building local capabilities or enterprises in this area? And also working with CFI. The research and the solutions that come out of CFI, how is that going to be translated to the industry and benefit also the local companies?
Thank you, Charles. Perhaps we'll listen to the second question and answer both of them together.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Olivia Jensen from the LRF Institute for the Public Understanding of Risk here at NUS. There's a great deal of expertise in this room on engineering, on climate science, apparently also on architecture and design, although slightly less. If anybody knows how to protect Singapore, it's probably people in this room. But in that context, what's the role of the general public in generating ideas and also to some extent in setting priorities? So how do we bring the public into this conversation, not just at the end of the process, but in meaningful ways as we pursue it? Thanks.
Thank you, Olivia. Perhaps I will have these 2 questions bundled up. And Professor Ledant, would you like to take the first question on how we can engage the industry better through be it the local companies and the SMEs, and how would CFI SG help out in that area?
So we are consciously aware of the fact that this fundamental science that will be conducted within CFI needs to be translated. So the funding that is mentioned today, 125 million, part of it is dedicated towards living labs and demonstrations. The other part has to do with initiatives we are pursuing right now to develop additional funding that will engage industry together. As many of our colleagues here, some colleagues here would know, we are working towards an MOU that we hope to sign within coming weeks or months that would lead us to very concrete steps in doing so. If I can come back being an educator, I also have to call on you to help us and also help us with our educational program. We want our students to work with experts such as yourself to see the real world problems. So while they are still at university, we are not dealing with just esoteric topics of this and that, but actually work on something which is use inspired. And once they come to industry, to real life, they actually have a notion about this. So I'll be very happy to connect with you and see how we can amplify this and work. 300 members is a huge deal that we have to tap on. If I can just take, and I'll pass the microphone to Olivia's question. How does the public is going to... Nobody likes to live in a watertight concrete bunker. full stop. And, we are not going to build watertight concrete bunker. We're going to have a solution that should be inspiration for the whole world. Nature-inspired solution is actually not a surprise. Self-repair, adaptation is normal in nature, whereas not in engineering. So we are looking for completely different ways of addressing the challenge while committing funds today. So this decision-making under deep uncertainties related to climate is a huge problem. The dollars have to be invented today in face of something that may evolve over 10, 20, 30 years. Too much or too little is not a good idea. So we have to have this adaptability involved. Anyway, Minister, I'll leave my microphone to you.
Big questions. And then this is coastal protection. Really, it's an example of all the complex problems that we have to deal with as a global community. We're talking about climate change being one. We're talking about, diseases, for example, as another, where really, all hands has to be on deck. We're talking about academia coming in as a very important stakeholder. We're talking about industry coming in together. We're talking about policy makers as well, planners, decision makers, people that's investing on R&D projects, for example. And more importantly, I think, as Olivia has alluded, really the community, the population at large. Because ultimately we're designing for the people, right? So the people has to be involved, but the people has to be involved in a meaningful way. So in our engagement sessions, we talk about, some of the general sort of, ideas about climate change and how it impacts, sea levels. But actually, when you really want to have meaningful engagement, we need to go into trade-offs, right? If you take option A, what does it mean in terms of dollar and cents, in terms of protection, in terms of impact on environment, in terms of how it's going to change your lifestyle, and option B, and so on. So in order to make meaningful and relevant trade-offs, you need to bring the population along this process of knowledge, of understanding. And in this whole process, if there's enough trust being built, I think then, you don't need to go too deeply to prove your science. So they need to build up that trust over that process. And that, I think, is very important, very key in many complex problems that we're trying to solve. And I would say that, going forward, it applies to CFI, because CFI has to bring in, NUS has to bring in other, IHLs, other AUs, other research bodies such as A-STARS. CFI has to work with industry, right? The industry itself, you got to bring in your architects, you got to bring your engineers of different disciplines, for example, the consultants with the builders, for example. You got to bring in the other scientists as well, the people that's interested in marine biologists, for example. You got to bring in all the other disciplines of science, including your marine institutes and your nature-based solutions. And then you have to look at stakeholders, the public as residents, the public as users. In our first session with the public, we thought that the sports fraternity is one corner and one group. No, they were actually trade-offs among themselves. Some of them want to have very active sports along the coast. Some of them like to fish and therefore don't like all these people surfing and, motorized boating. No, not good for the fishers, right? So actually there are trade-offs even among the sort of sports fraternity. And what more with the larger community. So in this whole process, I think everybody has to be brought together. There need to be trust-building mechanism. There need to be engagement, communication, and hopefully we reach a solution that that's optimal. In Singapore, I think that's quite difficult. It's not impossible, but it's challenging because we are very conscious about land take. Every square kilometers or square meters of land is important for us, and we're always thinking about how can I use this land optimally by multiple users, and also sometimes that's not quite friendly to the animals or the plants. So that's again trade-offs, right? So we all understand that we need to do trade-offs with users similarly. So I will just say that it's a great undertaking. I told the PUB folks in coastal protection that they have their career secured for many decades to come. Even the engagement team, we're talking about engaging many, many different stakeholders at different parts of the country, because no one location is identical to another. So if you're talking about Marine Parade folks versus the Northwest folks, the people that go to Sungai Buloh or Sungai Kadut, the industry is over there, they're all different. And we need to protect the coastline to different degree, different extent, and there's different requirements. So there's going to be a lot of work. What we know is that it's an exciting opportunity. It's an exciting opportunity. And here I'd like to make mention to some of the exciting work that we have done in the past. I think we have Kuting Chai here, who have made really a great difference to Marina Barrage. I think we all enjoy Marina Barrage. It's a beautiful place for us to go for our picnic. But it could have been just a pump house, right? A ugly pump house, non-utilitarian, right? I mean, just purely utility, right? But I think under Mr. Kuting Chai's leadership, was it PUB or URA? URA, is it at that time? To get. And you happen to be in both organizations in one point in your career, all right? So that's really an example how a floodgate, it's really just a floodgate, right? How a floodgate and a pump house can actually create huge value for us as a country. And that's multiplied by many, many kilometers of coastlines. That's really ready canvas for all of us here. So welcome to the birth of CFI, but also welcome to the start of an exciting, hopefully a real value-adding one, and a transformation journey for Singapore.
Thank you, panelists, for the engaging discussion, and also thank you for the questions from the floor. I hope that I hope that the discussions we have today during this dialogue will also continue beyond our dialogue session and beyond today's launch, because as mentioned earlier, the people that we need to work with are in this room and also beyond. We have our engineers, our architects, our geographers, our climate scientists, I see some of them in this room, our designers. So we hope that, not only would the entire coastal protection work include people from different walks of life in this room, but also the residents and the users of the places that we're designing for. So without further ado, I will hand back the time to the MC.
Thank you so much.
Shall we take a short photo?
A big thank you to Minister, our panelists, and the moderator for the thought-provoking and insight discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite Minister to proceed to the exhibition area. And please once again give her a big round of applause for gracing our event. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, may we please invite you to remain seated for just a brief moment. Just a brief moment. Thank you very much as we do an official closing. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, may we now invite you to enjoy the exhibition, which is once again showcasing research that has commenced in the area of coastal protection and flood resilience within the agency's Institute of Higher Learning and industry partners as well. We've also prepared some refreshments which will be served outside in the foyer. Once again, congratulations for the launch of the Coastal Protection and Flood Resilience Institute of Singapore. To all our virtual participants, a big thank you for joining us. And everybody else, thank you so much for being here. Have a great day ahead of you. We hope to see you soon. Goodbye.